Chicago, 1895. Beneath the old United States Post Office, a group of workers uncovered a hidden chamber. The room was small, no more than 10 by 10 feet. Walls, concrete, stained with rust-colored streaks. Floor, uneven, littered with fragments of bone. The air, stale, reeked of ammonia and death.
The workers stood frozen, eyes wide. They realized the chamber's purpose, a slaughterhouse for humans. Iron shackles bolted to the walls. A table, metal, corroded, with deep grooves etched into its surface. Instruments scattered, surgical, rusted, each telling a story of pain.
They felt it, the weight of history pressing down, the fear palpable like a living thing. Dust hung in the air, disturbed by their presence, swirling in the dim light. Every breath tasted of decay, as if the chamber itself was exhaling the last gasps of its victims.
This was H. Holmes' legacy, a monument to horror. The murder castle's secrets unearthed, refusing to stay buried. The truth, raw, ugly, undeniable. To understand the mind of H. Holmes, one must first journey back to a time before the monstrous edifice of the murder castle was ever conceived. Herman Webster Mudgett, born on May 16, 1861, in the small town of Gilmanton, New Hampshire, was the product of a strict and unforgiving household. His father, Levi Horton Mudgett, was a stern disciplinarian. His mother, Theodate Page Price, a devout and pious woman. This rigid upbringing, devoid of affection, would lay the foundation for the darkness that would consume him. The Mudgett home was a place of order and austerity, where rules governed every aspect of life. Young Herman was expected to adhere to the strict moral and religious codes prescribed by his parents. Each infraction met with severe reprimand. It was within these walls that the seeds of his future malevolence were sown, a twisted rebellion against the constraints of his childhood. But it was not just the rigid discipline that shaped him. There were other, darker influences at play. Even as a child, Herman exhibited behaviors that hinted at the sinister path he would eventually walk. Anomalies in his early years, such as his fascination with death and his penchant for torturing small animals, marked him as different. These acts, carried out in secret, were early manifestations of a burgeoning psychopathy, a craving for control and power over life and death. It was as if the very air around him was charged with a malevolent energy, the shadows lengthening with each passing day. Yet, for all his dark inclinations, Herman was a child of remarkable intelligence and charm. In school he excelled, his mind a sponge for knowledge, his demeanor winning him the favor of teachers and peers alike. This duality, the ability to present a facade of normalcy while harboring sinister intentions, would become his most dangerous weapon. It allowed him to navigate society undetected, a wolf in sheep's clothing, preparing to unleash his true nature upon an unsuspecting world. As he grew, so too did his ambitions. Herman Webster Mudgett, the boy from New Hampshire, would soon reinvent himself as H. Holmes, a man whose intelligence and charm masked a soul devoid of empathy, a mind capable of constructing elaborate schemes to ensnare and destroy. The path from Gilmanton to Chicago was paved with deceit and manipulation, each step a calculated move in a game only he knew the rules to. This transformation was not sudden, but rather a gradual shedding of the vestiges of his former self. With each new identity, each new deception, he moved further from the rigid constraints of his upbringing and closer to the monster he was destined to become. The murder castle, his ultimate creation, was still years away, but the architect of its horrors was already in the making. In the quiet moments, when the world around him was still, Herman would reflect on the power he wielded, the lives he held in his hands. It was intoxicating, this control, this ability to manipulate and destroy without consequence. The darkness within him was no longer a hidden shadow, but a living entity demanding to be fed. It was only a matter of time before he would give in completely. As the years passed, the boy Herman Webster Mudgett faded into obscurity, replaced by the man who would become H.H. Holmes. His story, one of transformation and terror, was only just beginning. The world was not yet ready for the horrors he would unleash, but the echoes of his childhood would forever haunt the corridors of his mind, a reminder of the path he had chosen, a path that would lead to infamy and death. In August of 1886, a man stepped off the train onto the bustling streets of Chicago, a city brimming with promise and opportunity. To the casual observer, he was just another face in the crowd. But this man carried with him a darkness that would soon seep into the very fabric of the city. Herman Webster Mudgett had shed his old skin, emerging under the new guise of H.H. Holmes. Here, in the heart of the industrial age, he would find the perfect stage for his sinister ambitions. Chicago, with its labyrinth of streets and alleys, offered Holmes the anonymity he craved. The city was a living organism, pulsing with life and commerce, yet beneath its vibrant surface lay shadows ripe for exploitation. Holmes wasted no time in establishing himself, weaving his way into the community like a spider crafting its web. His charisma was his most potent weapon, a tool he wielded with unnerving precision. It was not long before he acquired a pharmacy at the corner of South Wallace Avenue and West 63rd Street, a strategic location that would soon become ground zero for his malevolent machinations.
Holmes had a way of making people feel at ease, his voice smooth and reassuring, his demeanor calm and collected. He was a master of deception, able to turn the simplest interactions into complex manipulations. It was this charm that led him to his first known victim in Chicago, Robert Leacock, a former classmate from medical school. Leacock, unaware of Holmes' true nature, had come to the city seeking opportunity, but what he found was a friend turned predator. The exact details of their encounter remain shrouded in mystery, but what is clear is that Leacock's life was cut short, his death serving as a grim precursor to the horrors that would follow.
The murder of Robert Leacock marked the beginning of Holmes's killing spree, a chilling testament to his cold-blooded ambition. With each calculated move, he grew more emboldened, his confidence swelling like a malignant tumor. Holmes's ability to charm and manipulate was unparalleled, a skill he honed with the precision of a surgeon wielding a scalpel. He navigated the social circles of Chicago with ease, weaving his way into the lives of those around him, always with an ulterior motive cloaked in congeniality. His victims, unaware of the danger that lurked beneath his polished exterior, were drawn to him like moths to a flame.
He seemed so genuine, so trustworthy. I never imagined the darkness that lay behind those eyes, the evil that simmered beneath the surface. We were all fooled by his charm, blinded by his facade. In the end, it was our trust that sealed our fate, our innocence that led us to him.
Holmes's reign of terror was just beginning, his appetite for destruction insatiable. He was a predator in a city full of prey, his every move calculated to further his twisted agenda. The people of Chicago remained blissfully unaware of the monster in their midst, a man who wore the mask of civility while hiding the soul of a killer. As the shadows lengthened and the city continued its ceaseless march toward modernity, Holmes quietly set the stage for his most infamous creation, the Murder Castle. But before its walls would echo with the cries of the lost, he would continue to weave his deadly tapestry, one victim at a time. In the heart of Chicago's Inglewood neighborhood, a sinister edifice began to rise, its shadow stretching long and dark across the cobblestone streets. To the untrained eye, it appeared as a peculiar yet unremarkable three-story building. But beneath its brick facade lay the labyrinthine mind of H. Holmes, manifesting in wood and mortar. It was a construction project like no other, destined to become known as the infamous Murder Castle. The building process itself was shrouded in mystery and deceit. Holmes, ever the meticulous planner, hired and dismissed multiple teams of builders, ensuring that no single group understood the full scope of his design. His instructions were precise yet cryptic, aimed at creating a structure that would serve as both a business and a macabre playground. The first floor housed shops and offices, a respectable frontage for the horrors concealed above and below.
The blueprints, when later discovered, revealed a mind consumed by malevolence. Secret passages snaked through the building, connecting rooms designed for both entrapment and execution. Trapdoors, seamlessly integrated into floors, led to windowless chambers below. Some rooms were equipped with gas lines, their purpose clear only to Holmes himself, who relished in the silent power of life and death they afforded him.
The second and third floors were a house of horrors, disguised as a boarding house. Guests, lured by the promise of affordable rooms, unknowingly stepped into a meticulously crafted death trap. The walls, lined with asbestos, muffled the cries of those who dared to struggle against their fate. Iron-covered windows prevented even the most desperate attempts at escape.
The structure itself was a testament to Holmes's twisted genius. False battlements crowned the building, giving it an imposing, almost fortress-like appearance. But it was the basement that held the darkest secrets, a veritable slaughterhouse where Holmes's gruesome fantasies came to life. Here, the air was thick with the smell of damp earth and the metallic tang of blood, a silent witness to the horrors enacted above.
It was in this subterranean chamber that the full extent of Holmes's depravity was realized. The room was equipped with a kiln, large enough to cremate the bodies of his victims, erasing any trace of their existence. This was not merely a place of murder, but a factory of death, where every detail spoke of a mind unfathomably dark. The shadows here seemed to cling to the walls, heavy with the weight of unspeakable acts.
For those unfortunate enough to fall into Holmes's trap, the building was a maze with no way out. The corridors twisted and turned, leading only to dead ends or back to the same spot. Panic set in quickly, the realization of their predicament dawning only when escape was impossible. And all the while, Holmes watched, a predator reveling in the terror of his prey.
The Murder Castle stood as a chilling monument to Holmes' insatiable cruelty and cunning. It was a place where the boundaries between life and death blurred, where the air itself seemed to whisper of the forgotten and the damned. And as the city around it grew, so too did the dark legend of the man who built it, a testament to the horrors that can hide behind a smile and a handshake. The echoes of his deeds lingered long after the last brick was laid, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can dwell within mankind. As the World's Fair of 1893 unfurled its dazzling spectacle across Chicago, a different kind of attraction lurked in its shadow. The fairgrounds were a playground for the curious and the adventurous, drawing people from all corners of the globe. And amidst this throng, a man named H. Holmes saw not opportunity for wonder, but for wickedness. Holmes, with his charismatic demeanor and persuasive charm, turned his hotel into a sinister trap. He offered visitors cheap lodgings, a welcome respite for weary travelers who had come to marvel at the technological wonders of the age. Yet once they entered his establishment, they unknowingly stepped into the devil's playground.
The murder castle, as it would come to be known, was a labyrinth of horrors. The very architecture of the building seemed to conspire against its guests. Windowless rooms designed to muffle screams, and staircases that led nowhere, creating a sense of endless entrapment. Each corridor twisted like a snake, leading to rooms that promised no escape.
Inside, the air was stale, thick with an indefinable dread. The walls, painted in muted tones, absorbed light and sound, creating an oppressive silence that seemed to swallow even the faintest whisper. The floors creaked underfoot, as if protesting the weight of the secrets they bore.
I remember the feeling of unease that settled in my stomach the moment I stepped inside. It was as if the very building was alive, watching, waiting. People would check in, but they rarely checked out.
Soon whispers began to circulate through the city. Visitors to the fair, who had made arrangements to stay at Holmes' hotel, began to disappear without a trace. Their absence was noted by friends and family, but the city, bustling with the chaos of the fair, paid little mind to the missing.
Reports of strange occurrences around the hotel began to surface. Neighbors spoke of odd deliveries at all hours, of guests who seemed to vanish overnight, leaving behind only questions and unpaid bills.
Holmes, ever the master manipulator, brushed off these concerns with ease, his calm demeanor masking the truth. But beneath his composed exterior lay a mind as twisted as the corridors of his castle, a mind that thrived on the fear and confusion he sowed. The city, oblivious to the horrors unfolding within its midst, continued to celebrate the marvels of the World's Fair. Yet, beneath the veneer of progress and innovation, a darker narrative was being written, one marked by deception, manipulation, and death.
For those who survived, the memories of that place lingered like a scar, a reminder of the nightmarish reality that had unfolded in the heart of Chicago. And for those who vanished, their stories became part of a legend that would haunt the city for generations.
The legend of H.H. Holmes and his murder castle would endure, a testament to the darkness that can dwell within the human soul. As the World's Fair closed its doors, so too did the doors of Holmes's hotel, leaving behind a legacy of terror that would never be forgotten. As the echoes of the World's Fair dissipated into the annals of history, H.H. Holmes turned his attention to another facet of his malevolent empire, his mastery of deception through elaborate insurance schemes. Holmes had long realized that the dead could be more profitable than the living. Holmes' ingenuity knew no bounds. He meticulously crafted a network of fraudulent insurance claims, each one a testament to his cunning intellect. He would procure life insurance policies under fictitious names, only to later claim the payouts with a chilling calmness. The key to his success lay in the acquisition of cadavers, sourced from medical schools and hospitals under the guise of scientific study.
Holmes was not content with mere theft. He would disfigure these stolen bodies with surgical precision, masking their identities and ensuring they matched the descriptions of his fictitious policyholders. His knowledge of anatomy, coupled with his lack of moral compass, made him a formidable predator in the realm of insurance fraud.
In the shadowy confines of his murder castle, Holmes orchestrated these gruesome transformations, each incision a calculated step towards financial gain. The air was thick with the acrid stench of formaldehyde, a testament to the macabre alchemy taking place within those walls. Holmes' ability to weave a web of deceit was unparalleled. He operated under numerous aliases, each one a new thread in his intricate tapestry of lies. With each successful claim, he grew bolder, his audacity matched only by his cruelty.
I remember the whispers about a man who could disappear into thin air, leaving behind nothing but confusion and grief. Holmes was a ghost, a spectre that haunted the very fabric of society, exploiting its weaknesses with ruthless efficiency.
Despite the mounting suspicions, Holmes managed to evade capture, his movements as elusive as smoke. He thrived in the chaos he created, manipulating the system with an ease that belied the monstrous nature of his crimes. Yet, even as Holmes's empire of deceit expanded, the walls of his murder castle bore witness to his insatiable greed. Each fraudulent claim was a step further into the abyss, a journey from which there could be no return. In the end, it was not the ghosts of his victims that would bring Holmes to justice, but the paper trail he left behind. A testament to the fact that even the most intricate web can unravel under the weight of its own deceit. The murder castle stood like a grotesque monument to human depravity, its brick and mortar concealing the whispered cries of those who entered and never returned. Each victim with a thread in a tapestry of horror, woven by a man whose charm belied his monstrous intent.
I remember seeing Emmeline Sigrand, a bright young woman with dreams of independence, stepping through those doors. She was full of life and ambition, drawn to Chicago by the promise of work and adventure during the World's Fair.
Emmeline's story was not unique. The murder castle lured many like her, naive, hopeful souls seeking new beginnings. Once inside, the labyrinthine corridors and hidden chambers became their prison, echoing with their final, unanswered pleas.
I felt a chill the moment I stepped into that hotel. The air was heavy, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in. I never imagined that this would be my end.
The families left behind faced a void that could never be filled. Mothers, fathers, siblings, and spouses clung to hope that their loved ones would return, only to be met with silence.
Each missing person report was a story of desperation. Letters from distraught families flooded the police station, each one a plea for help. They spoke of daughters who never wrote home, brothers who vanished without a trace, and fiancés who disappeared on the eve of their wedding.
These families were left to navigate a world where closure was a luxury they could not afford. They became detectives in their own right, piecing together the fragments of their loved ones' last known moments.
We all heard the rumours, stories of disappearances, of strange occurrences at that hotel. But to think that someone could be capable of such evil, it was beyond comprehension.
As the number of missing grew, so did the fear gripping Chicago. Residents spoke in hushed tones, their eyes darting to shadows that seemed to linger too long.
The city's pulse quickened with suspicion. People began to question the man they knew as Dr. Holmes, a seemingly respectable figure with a penchant for the macabre.
Holmes's facade was slipping, revealing the darkness beneath. His charm could no longer mask the chilling truth that within the walls of his murder castle, he had crafted a kingdom of death. The truth was a shadow, creeping ever closer, ready to engulf the man who had so meticulously constructed his own downfall. The stories of those who vanished within the murder castle were not just tales of horror, but a testament to their enduring presence, haunting the corridors long after their voices were silenced. As the rain continued its relentless descent, washing over the cobblestones of Chicago, the weight of unanswered questions hung in the air like a thick fog. The city, vibrant and bustling with the promise of the World's Fair, masked a sinister undercurrent that would soon unravel under the scrutiny of the law.
The first whispers of unease reached us through the cracks in the city's facade. Rumors of vanished souls and the enigmatic figure of H. Holmes. Each tale, more chilling than the last, painted a picture of a man whose charm belied an unfathomable darkness.
The initial investigation into the disappearances linked to Holmes was fraught with challenges. Detectives found themselves ensnared in a web of deceit, spun with meticulous precision. The murder castle itself stood as a monolithic testament to Holmes' cunning, a labyrinth of false promises and hidden horrors. Inside, the walls seemed to close in, the air heavy with the scent of dust and decay. Secret passages, concealed doors, and windowless rooms created a maze where logic faltered and fear thrived. Each corner turned revealed another layer of Holmes's twisted genius, a design meant to confound and control.
Every lead we pursued seemed to vanish into the ether, obscured by Holmes's artful misdirection. His use of aliases, his manipulation of records, and his network of deceit presented a formidable barrier to justice. The deeper we delved, the more elusive the truth became, as if the very walls of his creation conspired against us.
Yet, within the shadows of the investigation, hope flickered. The breakthrough that would turn the tide against Holmes was both a testament to dogged persistence and a chilling revelation of his true nature.
It was a slip, a minor oversight in Holmes' otherwise flawless facade that provided the thread we needed. A discrepancy in his insurance claims, a name that didn't fit, led us to the door of his macabre empire.
As the truth emerged, it became clear that the murder castle was not just a place of death, but a reflection of Holmes' fractured psyche. A monument to his hubris, it stood as both a prison and a graveyard for those who had the misfortune to cross its threshold.
The weight of the evidence, once uncovered, was undeniable. The stories of those who vanished, once whispers in the night, became a chorus of voices demanding justice.
The investigation into H. Holmes was not just a pursuit of a man, but a confrontation with the very essence of evil. As the pieces of his life and crimes fell into place, the true horror of his deeds was laid bare, a testament to the depths of human depravity.
In the end, the shadows that Holmes had so carefully cultivated became his undoing. The truth, once hidden within the walls of his creation, emerged into the light, casting a long, dark shadow over the city and its history.
As the investigation closed in and the noose tightened around Holmes's neck, the city of Chicago was left to grapple with the legacy of a man who had turned its streets into a playground of death. The echoes of his crimes would linger, a haunting reminder of the darkness that once walked among them. As the investigation closed in and the noose tightened around Holmes's neck, the city of Chicago was left to grapple with the legacy of a man who had turned its streets into a playground of death. The echoes of his crimes would linger, a haunting reminder of the darkness that once walked among them. The arrest of H. Holmes marked the beginning of a trial that would captivate the nation. His capture was as dramatic as the stories that surrounded his life. Holmes, ever the calculating figure, was apprehended in Boston after a meticulous investigation unraveled the web of deceit he had spun. As he was led away in shackles, a sense of relief washed over a city that had been gripped by fear. The trial of H. Holmes unfolded like a macabre theater, with the courtroom as its stage. Journalists and spectators packed the room, eager to witness the downfall of a man whose crimes had shocked the world. As the prosecution laid out the evidence, the atmosphere grew heavy with the weight of unspeakable horrors.
The sheer scale of Holmes' atrocities was laid bare in court. The blueprints of the murder castle, with its hidden chambers and trapdoors, were displayed for all to see, each line a testament to his monstrous ingenuity.
The public's reaction was one of disbelief and revulsion. Newspapers printed lurid headlines, and the people of Chicago, and indeed the nation, were left to reckon with the fact that such evil could exist among them. Mothers clutched their children tighter, and men looked over their shoulders, wary of the shadows that seemed to grow longer with each revelation.
I remember the whispers in the streets, the way people would stop and stare at the headlines, their faces pale with shock. It was as if the very air had turned against us, thick with the stench of fear and disbelief.
Throughout the trial, Holmes maintained a demeanor that was as chilling as the crimes he was accused of. Unrepentant and calculating, he sat in the dock with an unsettling calm, his eyes betraying no hint of remorse. To him, the proceedings were merely another game to be played, another puzzle to solve.
I saw him there, sitting so calmly, as if he were merely a spectator at his own trial. It was as if the lives he had taken were nothing more than pieces on a chessboard, to be moved and discarded at will.
As witness after witness took the stand, the true extent of his cruelty was laid bare. Stories of vanished loved ones, of dreams extinguished in the labyrinthine corridors of the murder castle, painted a picture of a man who viewed human life as utterly expendable. Holmes' trial was not just a reckoning for the man himself, but for a society forced to confront the darkness it had harbored within its midst. The verdict, when it came, was a foregone conclusion, yet it was delivered with the solemnity befitting the gravity of his crimes.
"Guilty on all counts," the judge intoned, his voice echoing in the hushed courtroom. And with those words, the fate of H. Holmes was sealed, his life to end on the gallows, as countless others had ended at his hands.
Yet even as Holmes was led away, the shadows of his deeds remained. The murder castle stood as a grim monument to his twisted genius, a reminder of the horrors that had unfolded within its walls. And though the man himself would soon be no more, the legacy of his evil would linger, an indelible stain on the history of a city and its people. The rain had ceased, leaving only the soft patter of droplets trickling down the grimy windows of the Philadelphia County Prison. Inside, the air was thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that mirrored the weight of the moment. It was May 7, 1896, the day H. Holmes would meet his end. Holmes, ever the enigma, remained composed in the face of his fate. He had spent his final days in a small, austere cell, its walls closing in like the labyrinthine passages he once commanded at his murder castle. The guards, seasoned men who had seen much in their time, whispered of Holmes' unnerving calmness, his eyes betraying no hint of fear.
He walked with an air of defiance, his shackles clinking softly against the stone floor. As he was led to the gallows, the crowd outside swelled, their voices a low rumble of mixed emotions: anger, curiosity, relief. Holmes had become a figure of infamy, his crimes a dark mirror reflecting the depths of human depravity.
The execution chamber was stark and somber, its atmosphere thick with the scent of fear and finality. The noose, a simple loop of coarse rope, hung ominously from the beam above, swaying gently in the still air. Holmes stood beneath it, his expression inscrutable, his mind perhaps drifting to the countless lives he had claimed.
As he faced the assembled witnesses, Holmes's lips curled into a faint smile, a chilling reminder of his unrepentant nature. In his final moments, he offered no apologies, no pleas for forgiveness. Instead, His last words were a brazen declaration of innocence, a denial that echoed hollowly in the chamber.
With a nod from the executioner, the trapdoor beneath Holmes' feet gave way, and the world held its breath. A single, abrupt jolt in the life of America's first known serial killer was extinguished. Outside the prison walls, the news of Holmes' execution spread swiftly, carried on the wind to a nation both horrified and fascinated by his ghastly legacy. For many, his death marked the end of a terrifying chapter, a brief respite from the nightmares he had wrought. Yet, for others, especially the families of his victims, closure remained elusive, the scars of his deeds etched deep into their souls. Holmes' execution was not merely an end, but a beginning of sorts, a catalyst for change in a society forced to confront the dark underbelly of its burgeoning cities. The public's morbid curiosity had been piqued, and the press capitalized on this, spinning tales of his exploits that would linger in the collective consciousness for decades. The Murder Castle, that macabre monument to Holmes' twisted ingenuity, was eventually razed, its secrets buried beneath the rubble. Yet, the stories persisted, whispered in hushed tones, a reminder of the evil that once thrived in its shadowed halls. Even as the site was repurposed, the specter of Holmes' deeds haunted those who dared to tread its grounds. In the years that followed, Holmes' legacy would serve as a grim warning of the darkness that can lurk behind a polished facade. His life and crimes became a cautionary tale, a study in the depths of human depravity that would inspire countless stories and cautionary tales. And so, as the rain washed away the last traces of that fateful day, the world moved on, yet forever changed by the shadow of H. Holmes, a man whose name would be etched into the annals of history as a symbol of human monstrosity. And so, as the rain washed away the last traces of that fateful day, the world moved on, yet forever changed by the shadow of H. Holmes, a man whose name would be etched into the annals of history as a symbol of human monstrosity. But the true horror lay in what was left behind, within the very walls of the Murder Castle, a structure that stood as a silent testament to Holmes' depravity, waiting to unveil its secrets to those brave enough to look. Investigators, driven by a grim determination, began their methodical exploration of the Murder Castle. Each creaking step through the dimly lit corridors unraveled a tapestry of malevolence that defied comprehension. The very architecture of the building seemed to conspire against them, with its maze-like hallways and soundproofed rooms designed to disorient and trap. It was here, within these walls, that Holmes had orchestrated his most heinous acts, where the boundaries of human cruelty were tested and exceeded.
The stench of decay was overpowering, a vile perfume that clung to the air and seeped into the skin. As we moved deeper into the heart of the castle, the shadows seemed to grow heavier, as if burdened by the weight of the atrocities they had witnessed. Each room we entered was a chamber of horrors unto itself, revealing the twisted genius of a man who had turned murder into an art form.
The investigators' grim journey led them to hidden rooms that bore witness to unspeakable acts. Torture devices, grotesque in their ingenuity, lay scattered like relics of a dark ritual. Chains clinked softly in a mockery of their grim purpose, and the walls, thick with soundproofing, whispered of screams that would never be heard. It was estimated that up to 200 souls had met their end within these walls, their lives extinguished in a macabre dance orchestrated by Holmes.
In the basement, the air was thick and oppressive, a suffocating blanket that pressed down upon us. It was here that we found the crematorium, a grim furnace that had consumed the evidence of Holmes' atrocities. The sight of it was a chilling reminder of the depths of his depravity, a final solution for the bodies he had so callously discarded.
The full extent of Holmes's sadistic nature became chillingly clear. He was not merely a murderer, he was an architect of suffering, a man who had meticulously designed a labyrinth of death for his own twisted pleasure. The scale of his crimes was staggering, a testament to his cold, calculating mind, a mind that viewed human life as nothing more than a means to an end. As the investigators pieced together the fragments of this gruesome puzzle, a portrait of unparalleled evil emerged, one that would haunt them long after they had left the confines of the murder castle. Holmes's legacy was not merely the bodies he left in his wake, but the psychological scars inflicted upon those who dared to uncover his secrets. The true horror of H.H. Holmes was not just in the lives he took, but in the cold, methodical way he went about it, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human soul. And as the final chapter of his story was written, the world was left to grapple with the unsettling truth that monsters are not always born, but sometimes made, molded by their own insidious desires.